I don't know about you guys, but I have a feeling 2023 is going to be the best year yet. I know there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now with the market shift, but what I believe that in any market shift, having being that I was licensed in 2009 in the last major recession, is that there's always opportunity. It's all in how you look at everything. But first, in order to seek out opportunity, we have to make sure that we have the foundational skills and the foundational aspects of our business. So today I want to share with you a very special presentation of Power Up 2023 and supercharge your business this year. I can't wait. We're super excited to help you do so. First and foremost, you have to run your career like a business. I think there's this big misconception. Again, we're going to start with some foundational things, but we're going to build up as we go along. And so one of the biggest misconceptions is when you get into real estate, people get their license, and unfortunately there's an NAR, National Association of Realtors statistic, that 87% don't renew their license. They don't last after a year or two. And I don't want you guys to be part of those statistics. Now more than ever, with the market shift, with the market correction, going back to normalcy, this is the time to really double down and make sure you've got the foundational skills. So when you get your license, a lot of times there's a misconception that, all your family and friends are going to automatically, your phone's going to be ringing off the hook. They're going to reach out to you and they're going to ask you to represent them. Listings are going to be coming from the sky. And we all know that's just not reality. You have to work at it. And so you have to really treat this as a business and become the CEO of your business. Take responsibility, control the things that you can control. The market shift and inflation and all the COVID, all these different variables are absolutely out of our control. And so those are not the things that we want to focus on. We want to focus on the things that we can absolutely control and really identify. And that's the only way that you can truly build up your career. So you have to first ask yourself, if you've been in the business a little while, take a look at the mirror. That's one of the best things that we can do, and ask yourself, would you hire you? And I know that's one of the most toughest questions that you can ask yourself. But if you are not an independent contractor, if you are not the CEO of your own business, and you were working for someone, and you were that person, you were that person's boss, would you hire you? What would that look like? And really be honest and true with yourself, because if you can't say yes with 110% absolute certainty, then you may need to reevaluate and look at your business. So I mentioned you are the CEO of your business. Are you a business owner or are you a business operator? I learned this years ago at a Tony Robbins convention, and he talked about business owner versus business operator. If you stepped away from your business today, would it grow or die? And I have to say, in talking with thousands of real estate agents, 99% of the time they would say that it would die because their business is contingent upon just their personal efforts. And so later on, we'll show you how you can leverage and duplicate and be able to manage your time. And so he would argue, Tony Robbins would argue, that if your business is contingent upon your personal efforts, then you're an operator, not a business owner. And if I asked everybody on this call today why they originally got into real estate, my imagination would be that you got in to be your own business owner, to be your own boss, to manage your own time, to have unlimited financial resources, etc. And that's what you ultimately want to get to, being a business owner. Do you have a measurable plan, or are you just kind of flying by the seat day by day? And I say this because in real estate, it's easy to stay busy. You can stay busy 8, 10, 14 hours a day. But the reality is there's a huge difference between staying busy and staying productive. So we're going to show you how to focus on your IPAs, your income producing activities, and make sure that you're using the best use of your time. And then last but not least on here is, do you take time to self-evaluate? One of the biggest differences that I find that really huge entrepreneurs, whether it be real estate or the alike, is that entrepreneurs take time to self-evaluate, see where they can improve, take time to think instead of just hitting the ground running, like I said, flying by the seat of your pants and hoping that, you throw something at the wall and it sticks. So you have to be very intentional. Ask yourself, how much could you earn if you were well prepared and practiced? Right? So if you let's think about other professionals, anything from the actor in maybe a movie that you just watched, or maybe on a game, the professional athlete, they practice thousands and thousands of hours before you ever see their performance, before you see their movie, before you go to their game. That's not the first time that they've practiced. And so we have to challenge ourselves as real estate agents, and more importantly, as a real estate professional. Have we practiced before we go onto the field, before we go to our first buyer consult, before we go to our first listing presentation? Have we practiced? And by the way, if you're not a new agent, that's not just for new agents. I know 13 years in, I'm continuing to try to sharpen my skills. And so it's something that should always be continuous. You also want to ask yourself, why did you originally get into real estate? Whether that was 2 months, 2 years, 20 years ago, why did you originally get into real estate? And then are you fulfilling those goals now? Every other profession must practice. So why would it be any different as a real estate agent? The number one reason you fail is your own mindset. That one's a tough reality. A lot of times in real estate, I'm always asked, what is the secret sauce to success? What is the secret sauce to being a top producer or being a top influencer? And I have to tell you, it's starting, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, of looking in the mirror and working on your own mindset. That's one of the hardest things that you can work on. But if you get it right, I promise you, the world is unlimited. So, first off, we want to define your goals. We talked about having measurable goals, and I love using the acronym SMART goals. This is, definitely not something new, but it's something that's really important. In having those SMART goals, you can become more intentional on every appointment and call you make. Like I said, there's a huge difference of staying busy and also staying productive. Having your goals can also help get rid of any limiting beliefs. For example, I used to hear this limiting belief from real estate agents all the time. Oh, well, I don't want to call this lead because maybe I'm bothering them. Somebody didn't sign up on your website and purposely put their name, their phone number, and their email if they didn't want to be bothered. They're intentionally wanting more information. Also, you have to commit to a power hour, at least 1 or 2 hours every single day for intentional conversations to people in your database and new prospects. Ask for the appointment or the referral. So, a lot of times, as a real estate agent, we're focusing on branding and marketing. People confuse prospecting with, I put, a house for sale on Facebook, and that's my prospecting for the week. But the reality is, prospecting, unlike branding and marketing, is where you control the outcome. So, branding and marketing is like throwing something at the wall and hoping that it sticks, hoping that you throw a post out on social media and that somebody will reach out to you, right? And we all know that social media is not for instant gratification, but outbound prospecting, you reaching out to expireds and for sale by owners in your sphere, that's where you're ultimately going to control the outcome. Start first in the morning. Get the most undesired tasks completed first. This is huge. If you don't like prospecting, which many of us don't, I don't really know anybody that actually enjoys maybe cold calling, for example, or door knocking. If you don't enjoy that, then I would challenge you to get that done first. Do that between 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Because what's going to happen if you don't, if you push those tasks off to the afternoon or later on in the day, then what's going to happen is it's mentally going to bog you down throughout the day. And so some of the most highest producers that I know faithfully have their prospecting hours in the morning and then they set their appointments in the afternoon. Set expectations for yourself and know average conversion rates, right? Let's say the average conversion rate is 3% for a completely cold lead. So that means if I want to have 3 sales this month, I need to generate 100 cold leads in order to convert 3. It's important to know those numbers, not just a national average, but also your personal statistics. And that way you're setting the right expectations for yourself. So, SMART goals, just real quick, stand for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Those are really, really important that you have some kind of measurable goal. So, we also should know our why. And I know that this sounds a little bit cliche, but the reason why this is so important is your why is what's going to drive you every single day. When you're doing those tedious tasks that you don't want to do, when you're prospecting and you don't feel like it, or maybe it's cold outside and you don't want to go door knocking, those are going to be the things that knowing and understanding your why is going to be the thing that pushes and drives you forward. And as Tony Robbins would say, your why must make you cry. And the reason he says that is because your why can't just be a generic, I want to help the world, but it has to have some kind of emotional attached to it because as human beings, we typically make decisions based on emotion. I know a few of you just logged in, so please just make sure, because we are recording this evening for other agents, please make sure that you're on mute and we'll take questions here toward the end. So define your big why that will drive you every single day. You have to dig deep sometimes for some of this. Like I said, don't let it be too broad. You need to wake up every day in the right mindset and ask yourself, are you a downer, a dreamer, or a doer? So downers are those people, I'm sure everybody has these in their life. They're always negative. They seem to see the negative in every situation. The dreamers are the probably the majority of us. They have good intentions, but they rarely fall through, right? They talk the big talk, but they're not necessarily walking the walk. And the doers are the action takers. These are the ones that are naming their own paycheck and really making a major impact. So, another idea is you can keep a journal near you at all times to write down your ideas, opportunities, and areas for improvement. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's really important to have that self evaluation, that self assessment, and take time to think on how you can improve. The brain is the most powerful tool we have, and muscle, exercise it daily. This could not be more true. I know for me, I try to listen to something motivational, inspirational every single day to make sure that I'm getting my own mindset right. So, the powerful three, this is the lifeblood of your business: relationships, referrals, and reputation. One of my favorite quotes from Grant Cardone is the difference between a contact and a contract is the R, and the R stands for relationships. So, if you can focus in your business on these three things: relationships, referrals, and reputation, you will have a successful business. That will become the lifeblood of your business. So you have to protect these with everything that you have. No business will survive with, of course, a constant flow of new relationships and referrals. With that said, always put your personal and professional reputation at the highest level. Have personal goals, have professional goals, and always make sure those are in alignment so they're not clashing with each other. And for this reason, this is why many brokerages, every brokerage is different, but many brokerages or leaders encourage their agents to leave any kind of personal, political, religious belief at the door. Because what we don't realize is maybe one social media post could cost you a ton of money, a ton of business, a ton of headache to your business. So sometimes we have to kind of bite our tongue a little bit and remain unbiased and just think about making sure that that personal and professional reputation are both working hand in hand. So ask yourself, is it truly worth it? Get away from distractions. Be hyper focused. This one is huge. As I mentioned in the real estate space, there's always different shiny objects, and it's always easy to get distracted. So when you have your goals and you have your business plan that we'll go over in a minute, that's going to allow you to stay hyper focused on your goals. So many of us as agents, we either time block our schedule, or you create this is what I do is actually create a priority task list for the day. So if it doesn't go on my calendar, it really doesn't exist. I even time block certain tasks and things that I need to get done, and I don't stop for the day until those get done. So you've got to have some kind of time block, some kind of priority task list. Otherwise, as I mentioned, you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, and that's not what's going to help you reach your goals. As I mentioned earlier, get the most boring task completed first. If you don't, they'll drag you down the entire day. If you do, vice versa, that's going to help you really feel like you've conquered the day, and maybe it's only mid-morning, right? Schedule your prospecting power hour early in the morning. Like I mentioned, we ideally would have 1 to 2 power hour, very intentional, uninterrupted, turn all the notifications off on your phone. conversations with potential prospects, because prospects is where you're going to control the outcome. I know I'm repeating some of this, but that's because it's incredibly important. Block out time to think and reflect that worst enemy of success is not continuing to grow. Consistency matters. That's really get into the compound effect. Not doing an activity today could put you months behind. What you're benefiting from today is the work you did from 90 days ago. So we're very fortunate in the real estate space. We really don't operate on a 365 calendar year. We operate more on a 12-week calendar year, a 90-day cycle. So if your business is slow today, I would ask you, what activities did you do or didn't do 90 days ago? And vice versa. The activities you do today, you're going to be compensated for 90 days from now. So if you had a bad quarter, the good thing is we have 4 quarters in a year, and it definitely gives you time to adjust, adapt, and move forward. Are you consistently planting new seeds and harvesting existing ones, right? We can't plant seeds in a field and hope that right away we're going to reap the fruit or, of those seeds. So you have to constantly, it has to become part of your everyday life. 80% of your success comes from 20% of your efforts. Again, another Tony Robbins philosophy that I really feel true is a lot of us are focusing on the strategy, the how to do this, how to be better, how to do this. Well, it's actually 20% strategy and 80% psychology, mindset, and energy. So if you would focus on those things, then people are going to be naturally attracted to you. A few definitions to go over. Do you have a P&L, profit and loss statement? Closing ratio, how many appointments versus closed deal? These are all important things to know, especially when you're putting together your business plan. Average sales price. What is your bread and butter? For example, if your market, maybe the average sales price is 200,000. Of course, that's going to vary for everybody on this call. Average commission. Are you a full service agent or are you a discount agent? You need strategy, systems, and support in order to be successful. Create an entity, seek the advice, of course, of an attorney or your accountant for tax and legal benefits. And a few other definitions. Income can come from buyers, sellers, referrals, leases, other real estate agents, depending on the brokerage that you're affiliated with. Cost of sale are, for example, referral fees, listing buyers, agent split, brokerage fees, marketing, staging, and photography. And then typical business expenses are marketing, lead gen, auto supplies, dues, technology, insurance, salaries, education, etc. I know that we're going through some of this quickly, but we'll definitely happy to share this presentation so you can go back over it. So creating a production plan. How are you going to build your business? Work on your plan every single day. Plan stands for prospect, lead generate, appointments, and negotiating contracts. One of the best ways that you can do that in finding your ideal client is asking yourself, where does your business come from? Look at the last 12, 24 months. Where does your business come from? And that's how you really determine your ideal client. Are you nurturing your sphere, past clients, and potential clients? Do you consistently schedule a prospecting power hour every day? What are the 3 commitments in the next 12 months? If you notice, I didn't say goals, I said commitments. We don't need to have this long list. Just narrow it down to 3 or 4, maybe introduce 1 per quarter. Define your outcome, short-term versus long-term. Bring clarity to your business and life. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 12 months? Where do you want to be in 24 months, in 5 years? What is your life going to look like? Because as you start to visualize it, that's when it's going to come to fruition, because it's going to allow you to start working towards something. And then more importantly, what does it mean if you don't get there? Right? Again, sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror and be true with ourselves, but that's what the most successful people do. They're honest with themselves. Where do you want to go? How do I get there? And then what happens if I don't? And that's going to give you the motivation to even work harder. Budgeting your numbers. We went over some of the definitions. We've got this little budgeting sheet that you can use. It's important to know your numbers. I say this because I work with a lot of top producers, and it's mind-blowing to me how many top producers that are selling a ton of real estate don't know their numbers. They have a lot of money coming in, but they also have a lot of money coming out. So it's really important to track your numbers and really narrow down and see what kind of net income you're bringing home to you and your family. So having some kind of budget sheet like what we have here and or a profit loss statement would definitely help with that. Also, when we talk about planning out your goals and having your SMART goals, one of the best ways you can do is have a business plan. And we actually have a class for this. So if you want it, definitely let us know. You can email, I'll put my information at the end, email us, and we'll definitely send it to you. But one of the biggest mistakes that I find is we do this long, comprehensive business plan at the end of the year. We sit down maybe for a month or two and we plan out the next year. And then what happens? It goes in the notebook and we don't look at it again. Right. So that's why I've intentionally created a 1-page bulletproof business plan, because it's supposed to be visible on your workspace at all times. If it's not on that business plan, besides personal things that happen, then you don't do it. So now you can ask yourself if new opportunities match your business plan. It's going to become a lot easier for you to say yes or no to things, right? So if the lender calls and says, "Hey, let's go for coffee," but it's your prospecting time and it's not part of one of your lead generation buckets, it's easier for you to say no or push it off to another time. So define your ideal client and plan of action. Defining your ideal client and then knowing what problem you solve for them. Why is this so important? It's like fishing the deep blue ocean and just hoping that you catch anything, right? But when you've determined your ideal client, exactly who you want to work with, then now I can start baiting for a certain type of fish. Right now I can start targeting my marketing toward that client. And it's almost like buying a brand new car and then you think you're the only one in town with that car, and then all of a sudden you buy your car and you drive it off the lot and you see hundreds of them, right? It's because that's how our brains work. So when I know exactly what kind of client I'm going to look for, then they start popping up more and more. So break down your annual sales to determine your daily tasks. This is where it's really important to reverse engineer your numbers, to not just say, I want to sell $10 million or $20 million in real estate next year, but how am I going to get there? Reverse engineer everything. And then you get into your daily task of everything that you should be doing every single day. And before you know it, not only will you hit those goals, but you'll crush them. And then, of course, choose no more than 4 lead generation buckets. That could be open houses, that could be Facebook advertising, that could be going after for sale by owners or expireds. And so when you have that, you now can say no to everything else because it doesn't match your business plan for the year. If you're a brand new agent and you don't have any lead generation buckets, choose 4 and introduce 1 per quarter. Don't overwhelm yourself with a bunch of stuff all at once because then nothing happens. So just introduce 1 per quarter. Your mental box. You want to focus on, as I mentioned earlier, your IPAs, which are income producing activities, or some people will say MMA, money making activities, or HLAs, high leverage activities, whatever you want to call it. You get the idea. There's a difference between staying busy and staying productive. You can only hold so much in your mental box. Literally, I can tell when I get overwhelmed, I've got too many projects going on at once, and I have to stay laser focused on one thing. Work out of your CRM, your clients relations management system, every single day. There's no way that we can have hundreds and thousands of potential leads and have it all stored in our brains. You're going to forget something. So you've got to have it in some kind of system. I don't know any top producer that doesn't use a CRM. How much is it costing you by not being organized? What's your follow-up system? Does your CRM have a drip campaign? Is it texting and email on your behalf? If not, I'm happy to share with you the CRM and the website and the follow-up system that we use, because it's almost like a virtual assistant. It does everything for you. Are you tracking every single person you know and staying top of mind? There's a phrase that if you own their mind share, you own the market share. So how are you going to stay top of mind with people? I'm also asked, what's the best CRM? Of course, it's the one that you use. If you've got to start out in a spreadsheet, then a spreadsheet will work, but you have to have something to be able to track your leads. So again, back to the number 3, habits of change. Find an accountability partner who will be honest, because consistency matters. Create a schedule and commit. So the reason that I have on here is no small talk. So let's say I was going to have a call every single Monday morning with my accountability partner. Well, what happens is we get on the phone, We start talking to each other, and then before you know it, you're 15, 30 minutes in and nothing's been accomplished. So you have to kind of set the groundwork before you start having these calls. And really, you can't have any small talk. This is not time to catch up. This is time to get to business. So setting that groundwork before you start having those calls, and then respect the time, because somebody's giving you their time to really improve yourself and hold you accountable. But the reality is, although accountability partners are great, nobody's going to care about you and your goals more than yourself. So you should also hold yourself accountable to a very high standard. Set daily, weekly, and monthly commitments, not goals. Like I said, there's a big difference between goals and commitments. Cherish your time as it's sacred. So the big three is, you're going to go into the previous week and say, here's my 3 wins. Here's my 3 losses and mistakes or failures, right? We all make mistakes and things that we can learn from. And here's the 3 corrections that I'm going to make to improve them. Get into those and then hold each other accountable for the following week. Daily, weekly, and monthly commitments. Define your commitments, not goals. How will you achieve?
my God, qué lindo.
I'm sorry, I think somebody here is unmuted. Let me make sure everybody's muted. Okay, perfect. Um, Define your goals, not commitments. How will you achieve your commitments? Do they align with your business plan, right? When you, as I mentioned, when you have your 1-page business plan, it now becomes easier to say no to other things. I like to use what I call social accountability. I use it to my advantage and share your commitments with others to hold you personally accountable. So, for example, if I'm working on a book or I'm working on a new project, I usually will put it out to the world. I'll put it on Facebook, or I'll schedule the event before I even have the class outlined, because now that's going to hold me accountable. So that's what I like to call social accountability. Ask yourself what will happen if you don't fulfill these commitments, right? Nobody's going to care about our goals more than we do ourselves. Work to achieve something every single day, big or small. Your goal as an entrepreneur is to move the needle forward every single day. And that's where you look at some people and you think, oh my gosh, wow, they're an overnight success. Well, they're typically not an overnight success, but it's small strides that they've done every single day. And some days are going to be bigger than others. But if your goal is every day, move that needle forward in your business and try to get 1% better, right? And then all of a sudden you look back and you've learned so much over the course of your career. Use your numbers to divide and figure out what you need to be working on every day, week, and month. As I mentioned, reverse engineer your numbers. That's why the business plan is so important. And use a habit tracker to visually check off new tasks. Analysis paralysis. So, not only do we have to work on ourselves, but we also have to condense time when working with clients. And one of the biggest mistakes that I find is, particularly, well, this can go with both buyers and sellers, but with buyers agents, is they will run around and show buyers 30, 40, 50, 100 homes. And I'm not to say that that can't happen, but it definitely can be avoided. And some of the ways that I avoided it in the past is, I did a buyer's analysis before we ever looked at the homes to find out exactly what they're looking for. And then I let them know that I've researched the marketplace and I'm going to show them the very best 3 homes, in hopes that one of those homes is going to match their needs. Because the more complicated we make it, maybe we just set them up on a home search and we just send them every listing that's out there, the less likely they are to make a decision, right? That's just human nature. So you go with the law of contrast, and keep in mind, this is not manipulating. This is just really creating proper context so you make it less complicated, allowing them to make a decision. And so that's choosing the 3 best homes that fit their criteria. But out of the 3, you're going to show them the least best home first. Then as the second one, you're going to show them really the ideal one, that the home that you think matches all of their criteria, the best price, the best options, the most attractive. And then the last one, you're going to show the second best. So that really reconfirms their decision that the previous home was the home that they want to move forward on. Are they just interested to purchase or sell, or are they fully committed? When you sit down and you do a buyer consult and you do a needs analysis, and then same thing with the listing, and you go into the listing and you assume the sale, that's where you're treating it as a professional. And that's also where you'd save a lot of time, because you're controlling the outcome. and being the professional. You're not going to go to your doctor, you're not going to go to your lawyer and say, they're not going to, you ask them a question and they ask you, what do you think? Right. And vice versa. That's what we should be doing in the real estate space. We have to treat it as a profession and know that people hire us to guide them through one of the biggest investments that they make in their life. So the 10 by 10, I'm going to share with you 10 daily tasks that you can do every single day, and then 10 weekly tasks that you can consistently create a new flow of lead generating. So every single day you can do 10 posts to Craigslist of different homes, 10 posts to Facebook groups, including Marketplace, 10 sphere comments on Facebook. So that's your sphere of influence or your sphere of power, friends, family, staying top of mind, and 10 industry specific connections on LinkedIn. 10 outgoing check-in messages. So not everything, when you check in with people, it doesn't always have to be about real estate. Maybe you say, hey, Susie, I'm just reaching out to you today. I thought about you. I'm just checking in to see if you needed anything from me, anything that I can help you with. It's not always the generic script. Do you know anyone looking to buy, sell, or invest in a home? That's so old school. Now you want to lead with value, you want to provide value, build that relationship, and that's where they're going to like, know, and trust you. 10 weekly activities, add 10 new Facebook friends, and then more importantly, don't just add them to Facebook, but message them and start building that relationship. 10 coffee shop conversations. One of the best lead generation tools that you can use is take your laptop, go sit in your local coffee shop, put 50 or $100 or whatever you're able to do at the cashier and say, hey, the next 10 coffees are on me. Just let them know, send them my way, or let them know that I did it as an appreciation, right? And that's going to strike up a lot of conversations. And by the way, that's going to be some of the most low cost and warm leads that you can ever buy. 10 door knocks next to an open house. So not only when you open a house, make sure that you're door knocking and inviting the neighbors, 10 to the left, 10 to the right, and 10 across the street, but minimum. 10 pop buys at local businesses, right? Become the local expert and really get involved in your community. And then 10 private happy birthday videos. So everybody goes on Facebook and says happy birthday, right? Might get a 200, 400, 500 happy birthday messages, but very rarely I might get a few happy birthday videos, and those are going to stand out more than what everybody else is doing. Look at your ROI and your ROT. So ROI is your return on time investment, and then return on time. You cannot manage something you cannot measure. What is your average cost per lead? What's your conversion rate? How many leads are you closing to appointments? How many appointments turn into closings? How much time spent versus the return? And then setting those realistic expectations for yourself. As I mentioned, all of that's laid out in the business plan. So if you take the time to fill that out, it's really going to make a lot of this easier. And then the ultimate goal is, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, why did you get into real estate? And then more importantly, what is your freedom number? So I say that because a lot of real estate agents, not all, but a lot of them are commission based, right? We're living sale after sale. We're on that real estate roller coaster. You get some closings, you stop prospecting, then you close those deals, then you become unemployed again, and you got to start the process all over again. It's like this vicious hamster wheel, right? But when you know your freedom number, and now you can start working toward that and really put some money aside from your commissions to a bigger goal. Maybe you're creating some residual income through some investments or leveraged income by team members, etc. That's where you ultimately get that freedom. You have a great sales month and then others that aren't so good, right? That's the roller coaster that I was talking about. It's because you haven't constantly fed your pipeline. It's just up and down and up and down. That's what we do as real estate agents. You need to generate real income that could sustain you in the event that you have to live off of it, right? I know agents that got in, a family emergency or had a medical emergency and they couldn't go out anymore. We have to think about those things. As Tony Robbins says, your why must make you cry. One of my whys is, in case of an emergency, I want to make sure that my family's taken care of, right? You have to dig deep and make sure that you could live off of that. So how much passive income do you need to make in order to live a truly free life? Everybody's different, but that's where you add up all of your expenses to determine your monthly residual income and return on investment. Then it's all about duplication. So the reality is we all have the same 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The difference is some of us leverage better than others, right? There's always time for improvement. But when someone says, I don't have enough time, time is merely an excuse because we all have the same time. It's just how you manage your time. And that's where leverage and delegation come into play and knowing your worth. So, what is your hourly worth? You do that through the business planning process. You're going to do that. You're going to divide your hours from your average commission and understand what your hourly worth. And then it's going to be easier for you to start delegating. How many listings can you appropriately handle? Some people max out, for example, at 10 listings because after 10, the level of service starts to decline. So when you know that, you need to start bringing on some more help. What items can you delegate? Hire showing assistants, transaction coordinators, virtual assistants, licensed assistants, etc. Or you can do certain things like shared VAs, Fiverr, task oriented things. How much money are you giving up in time and money by not leveraging? I had a conversation with one of our agent partners last week that he's really busy flipping a house right now, and he's like, "Oh, I'm getting all these leads, but they're falling through the crack." And I said, "Well, let me introduce you to some other real estate agents that can start calling on those leads and help you, and then at least you can partner or at least refer them out and not be letting." All of that fall through, and so not only are the clients not getting service, but you're missing out on those commissions as well. Create a duplicatable workflow. So I heard this a long time ago. If it's not duplicatable, you don't do it. So when you know your hourly worth, for example, if you're worth $112 an hour, then shouldn't you be delegating the $10 an hour activities? That's where you start hiring an assistant, a virtual assistant, and delegating those tasks. That could include showing assistants, data entry, transaction management, marketing, contract entry, appointment scheduling, etc., depending on your state and if they need to be licensed or unlicensed, right? Make your systems duplicatable, create a task list, and create a team manual or standard operations manual for everyone to follow. Leverage, you can partner with affiliates also to increase your ad spend. So, depending on what your brokerage allows, you could look at partnering with the lender for different events or maybe some of your ad spend and share some of those contacts. Time blocking and self management. Create either a time block schedule or a task list for the day. Get the most boring task completed first. Make your prospecting calls. One of my favorite reads is Fanatical Prospecting. Block out time to think and reflect because the worst enemy of success is not continuing to grow. Consistency matters. Not doing an activity today can put you months behind. We're just kind of recapping here. And what you're benefiting from today is the work that you did 90 days ago. Take massive action, especially in this market shift. Now is when you can take market share. This is the time to double down on your business and take massive action. 10x your efforts, you're going to 10x your results. Overflow your pipeline, make prospecting a priority to drive results. Track your conversion rates, track your hourly worth, your return on investment, and commit to daily activity. Don't let one day go by that you don't prospect. Update and work out of your CRM, and we're all in an uncertain future. So by doing these things, you can bring your own certainty. So with that said, I promised I'd put my information up here at the very end. If you like any of the classes that I mentioned throughout this, just go ahead and shoot me an email. We'll get that over to you. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up if anyone has any questions.